it. And let me just pull up my little bio for you, Dominique. So it sounds like some people are already familiar with Dr. LeBarry, but I'm going to introduce her before we get started. And as for me, my name is Lisa Hinchy. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Early Career Professionals and Students SIG at ADAA. My co-chair, Rayut Naeem, was unable to be here today, but she is very excited to watch the recording as well. And I am really excited to introduce our first speaker for our quarterly meetings of this academic year. Dr. Dominique LeBarry is a new assistant professor at Virginia Tech in the Development Psychology program. She graduated from the University of Georgia, where she specialized in developmental psychology with a focus on ethnic racial socialization and how it can be leveraged to support children and families facing difficult and stressful experiences. She continues her work at Virginia Tech, where she's currently an assistant professor in the psychology department. And her work has been acknowledged by SRCD, APA, and published in peer-reviewed journals such as Cultural Diversity and Ethnic Minority Psychology and Psychological Trauma Theory, Research, Practice, and Policy. And she's going to be sharing with us today some of her strategies and tools that she uses to stay organized, relevant for both being in grad school and beyond into early career professionalism. So I'm going to pass it over to Dr. LeBarry. And if anyone has any questions throughout, feel free to use the chat or raise your hand. We'll also leave time for questions at the end as well.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Would you mind giving me, I don't know if I can share my
Oh, do you
screen.
not have, oh, I thought it did. Let's see.
I see it now.
Is it
Okay.
working? Okay.
Yes, it's working. Let me set that up because it's not showing me the screen I want to share.
Just in case I'm doing it again, but hopefully it works.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. It looks like, sorry, y'all. It looks like my Zoom maybe just updated or something, and now all the things are in the wrong place.
Oh no.
Okay, slideshow, presenter view, and then now I can't find y'all. Okay, let's do it this way. Share portion of screen, share.
Oh, that
Uh,
looks good. I can see it.
okay, awesome. Let me switch things around so that I can see y'all. There we go.
It might be, it might be a little, oh no, we're good. It's not cut off anymore, I don't think.
Okay,
Beautiful.
perfect. Oh, now I think it's cutting off. Sorry, y'all. As like ready as I typically am, Zoom always finds a way to throw me off.
It always does, right? And especially with an organizational, presentation, right? Of course, we're going to have some ironic problems.
But I think it's looking good on my end. Does it look good on y'all's?
It looks good for me.
Organizational strategies for this presentation.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start. So just a little bit about me and my relationship with ADAA as well. So I have been a member of ADAA since 2018 when I was back as a postbac at the Grady Trauma Project over in Atlanta. That was also my very first ever research conference. So ADAA holds a very special place in my heart. From the Grady Trauma Project, I was a post back there for a few years, working with folks such as Nagar Fani and Tanya Jovanovic on trauma and how that impacts families, specifically civilian folks, so African American mothers and children. And that really pushed my interest in this research area of what the stress and trauma and racial discrimination and racism do to families and how can we support them. From there, I went to the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. I think I'm bound to say that every time I mention I went to UGA. And there I was able to further my research on how stress and trauma impact families, but further how cultural aspects or cultural processes such as ethnic racial socialization support families and children, what we can do to help families and really leverage that. And from there, here we are today at Virginia Tech, where I'm an assistant professor. I am also the director of the Raíces Lab, where I continue to work with stress, ethnic racial socialization, and how that can help families. And y'all, please excuse me, I'm getting over a sinus infection again, so I may take a few pauses, but please feel free to ask questions, etc. So when it comes to academia, it isn't a one-piece job, right? It's really 5 or 6 or 7 jobs, depending on how many hats you have. We're juggling teaching, research, writing, service to the department, service to our areas and to our field. And on top of all of that, we're human beings, right? We have our personal lives that we also have to find time to balance. And all of these things happen and run at different timelines, oftentimes at the exact same time. And that can just be really stressful. So I found it being very stressful for me, even when I was back at a post back at Grady Trauma, because it was so fast paced and working with participants. And this is pre-COVID. So we were in the hospitals working with folks individually. And it just was so much to balance while also applying to graduate school, taking the GRE and finding time to study for it, all while having a side part-time job. And while at the Grady Trauma Project in the lab that I worked in with Dr. Fani, one of the pieces that we used was this task sheet. And that's where I really started developing this idea of like, okay, I can probably adapt what we use in the lab for my own personal life. And that will be the task sheet that I share in just a little bit. So in addition to the competing priorities that we have to face and deal with in academia, there are also these hidden deadlines and moving targets. That just helps increase your stress. Sometimes you end up missing opportunities because things just fall through the cracks. I know for myself, there were times when I was meaning to apply to this one thing, but I just missed it by a day or so simply because there was so much happening. And I used to use to-do lists a lot. And basically what I used to do was just any quickly available scrap piece of paper would turn into a to-do list of, oh, there's this thought that I have and I need to remember to do this thing. Let me write it down and get it done. And I still use them. They're helpful tools that I have. If you were to see my desk, you would find lots of sticky notes around me. And those would be here just to jot down ideas and thoughts that I want to make sure I capture. Um, but with that, they're not the most efficient for everything. They don't necessarily capture urgency. And it's often just a list of everything that needs to get done. But because of that, those things that might be really high priority and kind of slipping your mind, you might have them at some random place in the list and then you end up missing that opportunity or something falls through the cracks. And that's just never helpful. And I'm guilty. That's happened to me many, many times. So because of that, and other reasons, I ended up just stepping away from the to-do list. Another piece that came up a lot when as I was like developing tasks and things to help me were just thinking about really large projects. So for example, I currently am on an R&R that I'm getting done, but there's a lot of pieces to that R&R and other folks are working on it at the same time. So having on my tasks list, this is the piece that so and so is doing and what I'm assigned to do and deadlines just really helps me keep track of larger projects that I'm working on. As I'm transitioning into this position as assistant professor, it plays a role as well in that I need to figure out what the IRB looks like here and understand who I need to contact and making these connections. So just having this task list that reminds me of all of the pieces that are happening at the same time and I need to juggle is really helpful and helps kind of manage those feelings of feeling overwhelmed. So with all of that, I created my own tracker and I still use it every single day. I have a photo here that I want to share, and I hope that it's coming up well because I kind of had to shrink it down of just what this tracker looks like. And it started, as I mentioned, back when I was at the Grady Trauma Project, where we used something similar, where we had a very clear header that includes what our progress is, the category of where this falls in. So back then was it recruitment? Was it writing? Was it a follow-up that you had to complete? An expected due date, the description of that task, and also the priority level, which was the piece that stuck out the most to me when we were using it back then. If my PI came and put something as high priority, that meant everything else needed to stop and I need to get to this. And then I really enjoy having a piece of additional notes and links and instructions, just because you may have an example of go ahead and email so-and-so and you don't remember who that person is or where to find their emails. So just dropping a link of what's there. This task list that you see here is what I started working on for the beginning of this semester. So it includes R&Rs, people that I need to email, My Raíces lab manual, which is a larger piece that I need to kind of put together for the lab as I start recruiting students and postbacks and undergrad volunteers. And just all of the small pieces that are easy to forget. So another example that I have here, and I don't know if y'all can see it really well, or see my cursor here. For city training here at Virginia Tech, there were modules that were about to expire from my last institution, so I had to update those and just update the pieces that were missing here. That I didn't have in the past as a PI. There are new city trainings that I didn't realize I had to complete. Rather than just have city training, I listed each specific one that I needed to double check and make sure it was done and get it completed. Another piece that I used that I adapted this tracker for was for projects that I'm working on. So this is specifically for writing projects. The way that I have this one set up is where I have a data set or the lab that the data is coming from that I'm working with. Priority, is this something that I need to do? Is there something that's missing? Just because when you're writing papers, there's so many folks that can be involved. And with that, it's easy to forget what was your role, especially if you're juggling, again, all of those competing priorities in your life. I also include who is the mentor on that paper. Here you can see folks who were my mentors or continue to be my mentors. They're stuck with me for life. As I'm moving forward, that will change to me being the mentor as I write more papers as the director of the lab. An abbreviation of what is the paper, just because I learned early on that when I was working on a project or a manuscript, rather than saying this whole name of the paper, that just turned into, hey, what about that CVE paper we're working on? Just a quick abbreviation so that my brain can remember. The title, list of the authors, is somebody waiting on me for this paper to move forward. This was very valuable to me as I was working on projects such as turning my master's thesis into a publication. Was somebody else on the paper waiting on me to review their edits or for me to write a new section before they can move forward? So if the piece is waiting on me, that means I need to move a little bit faster. I also include the project status. Has this been accepted? Is it under review? Is it in the writing phase? Are we editing? Are we finding a new home for it? Any notes? And then the last few columns here are submission date, journal, and submission history. I have those because I quickly realized as papers were rejected and we were resubmitting, what was that journal we submitted to again? Or what about this one? Where did this one go? So I made sure to include a history of all of the papers of where I added or had submitted. And I see a hand is raised, so I think I click view. So go ahead, Jackie, I think it is.
Hi, I'm so sorry.
Hi.
This is really fantastic. And I feel like I've used things like Trello and like other monitoring applications that I just haven't, it's hard to commit to for some reason, like something like an Excel sheet or whatever that you can visualize is, I
Yeah.
think, better. I was just wondering about the drop downs for the priority. What are the other uh, filters that you have
Let's see.
there?
So for this,
Sometimes I feel like I have too many, like too many stages,
yeah.
and it's I think less helpful than maybe some broader categories. But I was wondering, like, other than completed, like, is it in progress? Is it like what's the?
Let me actually go ahead and pull up my actual tracker because this is a screenshot. So I'm going to stop
Oh,
sharing.
got it. I'm sorry.
Oh no, girl, you're fine. Let me go ahead and pull it up.
Thank you.
As I was telling like Liza and Lana before, like I visualize this to be like very relaxed, nothing out of this world. Like, so yes, no worries. Okay, so let me share screens. Let's see, is that where I want to be? This one, share. Okay, are you able to see this Google Sheet? Okay, yeah. So this is where I have everything listed for projects. So under priority, I have completed, low priority, medium priority, high priority, find a new home. This was just papers that were like, I believe that this has a home in another journal and we need to find it. And then IDK, lost and void. That is very much me where I have papers where it was like, this was a project idea we had, and we maybe ran some correlations, and everyone was like, we're gonna submit this. And it's been like 3 or 4 years. And it's like, it's an idea that exists out there and it's maybe going to be revived, but right now it's just lost in that void. So that's just a fun little piece that I had for me to remind me when it comes to someone waiting for you. Nope, it is waiting on me. Maybe I'm waiting on a co-author, and that's a piece where I need to be like, hey, so and so, I remember you were working on this piece and we had this deadline. I just want to double check and see what progress you're making, or like maybe you need me to tag me in and I can help. If it's been accepted, we're good to go. And again, that lost in the void, I'm not going to worry about this. And then under project status, I have whether it's been submitted, accepted, if it's in the R&R stage, do we need to find a new home? So that's just a nice way to say that it's been rejected and I don't want to hurt my feelings every time I see it. Uh, is it in the writing phase, data analysis? Are we editing? Are we outlining? Maybe it's a very early on paper. Did I complete my piece and I sent it out to co-author? So now it's off of my hands and it's on them. Or again, I don't know, it's lost in the void. I'm not going to concern myself about this. And on this list, I have a few, I kind of color code everything just to help me. This gives you an idea of how many papers are like lost in the void, where it's like, this was a really great idea that we had. We even have a title for it. Is someone actually going to do something with this? I don't know. And it's not my problem. I'm not up there as first or second author. For low papers, these are papers that I have, let's see. These are papers that I was working on, but they're very early on in the stage, or maybe they're kind of semi-lost in the void, and I need to check in with somebody about that. Medium, I use these to kind of consider papers so these two are papers that have been, let's see, this was an invited special issue. It's low priority because I'm not first author in that, and I'm waiting on that first author to reach out to me and keep me updated. For this other one, I am first author, but this was my first year paper that I'm trying to revive. I have other pressing projects that I want to make sure I get through first. And then these that I have here as high priority, uh, these are papers that are pretty, excuse me, pretty close to getting out. They're probably just waiting on me to like review current status of the paper, check in, like we're getting ready to send these out. And then here I have papers that are completed and have been submitted or need a new home. Maybe it's been rejected and I need to find a new place for it. Does that help? Any other questions on this sheet? Okay.
I have a different question if that's okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
of course. And that's Destiny, I think.
Yes. Oh, I don't, this happens sometimes where I'm like, where did I go? I don't,
Oh,
oh,
no
there we go.
problem.
Okay. For the tasks, what if a task doesn't have like a due date? I find that that happens a lot. So it's kind of like a low priority. It's like, for example, like I wanted to go to some presentation. I didn't, someone sent the slides. I'd really like to look at that, but if I didn't do it, nothing would happen. And so I don't, it just keeps getting bumped back.
Oh yeah, and that happens to me all the time. So when it's things like that, I make up a due date for
You just
myself.
make it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were some recordings, this was last semester, that I wanted to watch on like I think it was like NIH LRP recording that someone had sent me. And I just put a due date up on my count on the task sheet I checked my calendar and I was like, okay, I have like a nice hour-long break here. I can eat lunch while I'm watching it just to force myself to actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
Said, like, as much as the task list helps me, sometimes I have things like that. And I'm like, we're just going to change that due date for later down out in the week or maybe next week. So I don't necessarily like live and die on that hill of these due dates are hard deadlines for things like that. But it just helps me kind of remember this is something you want to do. Don't let it slip your mind that you lose it for like a month or so.
Mm-hmm. And what about um if you do think of something and you're not at your computer? I guess I'm wondering how, since this is electronic, I'm constantly like, I'm going to do something electronic and then no, I'm going to go back to paper, because I feel like it's just easier. Like to see it if it's right here on paper versus like I have to log into the computer or blah, blah, blah. So how do you
So
manage
for
that.
that, that's a really good point, and I wish I would have included some of this in my presentation. But when it's things like that, so I always have a planner um, just to keep track of all of the meetings and events that I have to attend or class time, office hours. On that planner, I have like a section off to the side where I list the to-do list or a to-do list for the day or the most priority things that I have to get done for that week. But I base that off of my task list.
Okay.
And then
Hmm.
oftentimes what I find a position I find myself in is I'm in a meeting with someone and something comes to mind, or they're like, can you remember to do this thing? And I'm like, I'm not going to remember to do that. As soon as I leave this desk, like my brain is going to clear this memory. So what I do, and maybe this is silly, I text myself, and I'll just say, excuse me, I need to like put a reminder for myself, and I'll text myself, remember to do XYZ, and I leave it as unread until I can get to my
Okay.
list, and
Hmm.
then I add things like that.
Hmm.
Just because when it's on paper, it's so easy for me to lose a scrap piece of paper or forget that it's in this notebook. But yeah, I try to use a little bit of all of those pieces.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Let me go back to, let me see what else I had on my presentation. Okay, I think actually what I had on my presentation next was to share how I put together one of these. Let me go ahead and pull that up. Share screen. Okay. I think y'all are now seeing like an empty Google sheet that I have here. Oh, let me bring it down just a little so I can see. So this is for the lab that I'm running now. And this is just kind of what I'm doing for the lab. So here on sheet one, we just have some very few tasks for myself. And Netta, she is my RA. She is so sweet. She emailed me when I accepted her and she was like, I'm so excited to join the team. And I was like, Netta, the team is literally you and I. It's just us. We're at ground zero starting this up. But here, just wanted to chat a little bit about how I put things together. So again, because this is for the lab, I have a progress of in progress, complete, or C notes. C notes is kind of like, hey, I completed this task, or I'm at this stopping point in this task and I don't know what to do next. So that's just go see the note, and here under the notes, I would put more details on what's happening. Here, because it's now me and somebody else, and potentially or hopefully very soon, more and more students who are in the lab, I just assign a drop down for each of us. So if it's something for me, I see that notification or I see my name. If it's for Netta, she sees hers. I assign the due dates, or she can assign me a due date of like, hey, Dr. LeBerry, I needed you to get this done, excuse me, so that we can complete XYZ and move forward. The actual name of the tasks, and other the priority levels here, I just have high, medium, and low, with high meaning, put everything aside, get this done ASAP. Medium is it's in the middle, get this done when you can, no huge rush. And low is we can live without this for a while and maybe we revisit this later on. Because I have someone else here in this sheet with me, I'm being a little bit more explicit with links and notes that I'll be leaving her in the future, just to help her and to help me as we're navigating and figuring out what do we need to get done and at what time. So I don't know if it's helpful to talk through how to create these. I feel like there's, compared to how it was when I first started creating these and what Google Sheets does now, the other day when I logged in Google Sheets and I started creating one, Google Sheets was like, is this what you're trying to do? And gave me a whole new format. And I was like, whoa, it's a little too advanced for what I like. So with these, I just go into, let's see, data, data validation, adding rules for helping whether it's going to highlight if it's high priority. Maybe I want the whole row to highlight red. And then for formatting, I add conditional formatting. And this is where I go ahead and do format rules. Text contains, and let's say it is, let's put a priority list. So high, oops, see, we can't spell today. And here I just customize the coloring for it. add a new rule. Text contains, it's already there. Medium, let's just do need so that it's shorter. I can change that coloring just to make it something that I like and helps me with that. And then let's add another one of low. For low, I don't know why, but I prefer it being gray. So now we have these three conditional formats. Oh, they didn't stay. It was supposed to be here. Well, in theory, it would show up here and show up with the three different formats or rules that we just put in. And then we can go ahead and drop those or change this range to go through for the entire column. And that's typically what I do. I think you can also still do this. Yes. And the drop downs will still come up. For whatever reason, it didn't stick the way I needed it to. Again, it's Zoom and that's what Zoom, or it's a talk and that's what always happens. So that's okay. But that's essentially how I set up the sheets. And again, here for the task list or the lab, I have here in progress. And then for my due dates, I do go under data. Is it under data or format, numbers? And I update my date so that it just stays in this formatting so it's easier for us to know what's going on. So with that, let me go ahead and stop sharing screen, go back to my slides. Any questions, y'all, so far? I do really enjoy like the questions that we've gotten to this point. Let's see. Let me go ahead and share.
I have a question just about the broader organizational structure. Do you have, I think when you live zoomed one of your sheets, you had like different tabs at the bottom.
Oh,
Do you
yes.
keep everything in one Google
Yeah.
sheet?
Yeah, let me go ahead and share that one. Where did it go? So, oops. Share. We want to share this one. Share. Okay, you should be able to see that like the overall sheet now. Yes. So with this one, so it's titled Grad Task List because I started this in grad school and I've just transitioned it forward and kept that title. So what I have here is I just keep all of the important things at the bottom for new tabs. So year one tasks, this is the task sheet that I'm working on right now, just for this semester, which I need to update. You can see here, there are some things, let's see, this is all completed. This is older. There are some pieces that are like further out. That's just a reminder of like, hey, this is coming up later on. I need to check in with that. And I'll edit these dates as I'm going along because you can see here, these are for like September 14th. They're not completed. I ended up getting sick and I need to go ahead and shift things around. I have a personal tab here for just like my own accounting to keep track of my budgeting for just my personal budgeting, so we won't go there. Invited talks. These are talks that I'm keeping track of just because as I'm preparing for not preparing for tenure, but now that I'm on the tenure track, the way I used to keep track of my talks was just in my CV. And I was advised, hey, maybe add a sheet where you're covering the talks that you do, just so that when it's time at the end of the year for your evaluation as professor, you can pull this up quickly. So I'm doing that. And then this is my project tracker here. And then under professional development, this is a really old task tab that I have, but I've shared it with folks. So I just have it here, and this includes things for like teaching or research or research links that I want to come back to. There are things for stats that are helpful because I don't actually use this one as much, but I've shared it with folks, so I just let it live on its own there. But yeah, I just keep everything there. When I was working on my, let's see, my thesis and my dissertation, I had tabs that I currently have hidden on the bottom and I don't know how to find them right away. I think it's like, let's see here. So because I was working on that every day, I had a task, excuse me, had a task for like coding my papers and whatnot. Yeah, excuse me just a moment. Was that helpful? Did that answer? Okay.
I got a question.
Mhm.
So, maybe this is kind of like just an easy Excel question, but do you have it where you can share it with other people, or like you have a team that could add to it? I mean, is that a feature that you use, or that this idea of, okay, this is my working document, but other people could see it and other people might be able to add to it?
Yeah, so with that, I use Google Sheets for that purpose. Excuse me. So that I can share it with folks to either view or edit.
Okay. So, and how do you do that? Just can you show us that? Sorry, I didn't want to ask a question when you're gathering yourself.
No, you're totally fine. This gives me a moment to like get the cough down.
Oh, okay.
So let me pull that sheet. So with that, I come up here to share. And all these folks are people who can view the task list, and then others who can edit as well. Sorry. And if I wanted to add somebody new, I would just add their name here. So let's do this person. That's just my mom. And I would let her know sharing task list with you. And because she's an editor, she'll be able to edit or add things. If I wanted to make it so she can only view it but not make any edits, I'd make her a viewer or a commenter, meaning she could just like leave comments for me to see and tag me in those. And then I would just send it over. And that's all I do on my end. She would then get a link, an email with the link to it, and she would just have to accept it, and that'd be all. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let me go ahead and go back to this slide.
Do you want to take just a 5-minute intermission, Dominique, and get some water?
Yes, thank you. Sorry about
I
that.
hope you feel better. No, no, not at all. Take your time. We'll be here.
Okay, y'all, I'm back. Thank you so much for the break. The water definitely helps a lot.
Oh, good. No, I've been coughing for the past month too, so I totally get it. It's awful. But I'm glad you're feeling a little better.
Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and pull up my slides again. Let's see. Okay, so I think that shows my, yes, it does. Excuse me. So I had left off over here. So I think someone had mentioned earlier using Trello, There are definitely other options to use rather than Google Sheets. I have also used Asana for my lab or my grad school lab. We used Asana. That was helpful, but I just didn't find myself going to it as often. So my mentor and I we just used my Google Sheet and we kept using that. Other folks used Asana and it was really helpful to them. It just wasn't for me. There's also Trello and Notion, which are also kind of like task managers. When it comes to communication, these other tools aren't tools that I discussed today, but tools that I still use myself in my lab, and when I was a grad student and now as professor. For communication, I love using Slack. It's really nice and easy. We're able to share messages, share files, share data sets. Like it's really nice to share and or collaboration with folks. So that's the communication piece that I use. I don't use Teams or Discord, but I've heard of other folks who use it and they really enjoy it. When it comes to writing and research specific, I love Zotero. That is my jam. There are other things such as EndNote and other citation managers. I was informed of these things called Scrivener and Overleaf. I have not used them and can't speak to them, but there are things that exist. And then, of course, for my calendar, I use a combination of Google Calendar and Outlook Calendar, and I just sync them together. But I'm able to sync those with Slack as well, so that whenever something's happening, Slack gives me a reminder of like, hey, this is going to happen, and like you have this meeting in about 10 minutes. Maybe start getting ready for that.
How do you sync Slack?
So with Slack, let's see, how did I do that? I think I ended up having to look up a video to learn how to do it.
Hmm.
But I connected it to my Google Calendar. And I think I was able to do it because my Slack account, I created it using my Gmail account. So I think that's why it wasn't easy.
I see. Okay.
And then just some quick tips before we end. I like to review these things regularly. So as I mentioned earlier, that Google Sheet for my project tasks and my daily tasks, that's always open. So as soon as I open my email, I also open my task list, and it's just living on and open in the background all the time. If you're new to finding new tools to help you be organized and collaborate with folks, pick one or two that seem interesting, or maybe the lab that you're in is already using one over another. Give it a try and just see what you like, but also feel free to play around until you find the thing that works best for you. It also helps me build accountability because if I see that to-do list and I see that the date is approaching, I'm like, okay, I really need to get this thing done. But also I give myself flexibility, as I mentioned earlier. Sometimes I need to just move things down. Sometimes you get a sinus cold and you have to push everything down a little bit. And that's totally fine. So I just adapt over time to how I'm going about staying organized and moving forward with my work. And with that, we've had some questions throughout, but that's everything that I had prepared for today. If there are any other questions, I'll stop sharing my screen. Let's see, where is that button? Here we go. In case anyone has any other questions they have.
I have a question. So I know some of you are already familiar, but we do have a like planner tracking template package that we have on the ADA website now for the early career SIG, or for anybody who wants to access it. It's in the early career and student SIGs resource section on the website. But these particular trackers, Dominique, are you comfortable sharing or sharing kind of like template versions of them that people could download? I don't want to put extra work on your plate, but if you already have a easy shareable template.
I think I do because I remember creating a template for a friend of mine. I can find that link and send it to you after the meeting. Probably expected by the end of the week at the latest, but I'm gonna add it to my tracker.
No rush at all. I mean, we'll have this recording available for people as
Oh,
well. And
okay.
when you do send that, are you comfortable with me sending that out in a post to the SIG?
Oh yeah, no worries at all.
Awesome. Thank you so much. These are really amazing. Yeah, the tracking template package was something that Rayud and I did last year. So obviously we're very, very nerdy and passionate about tracking ourselves in this SIG. So really appreciated seeing all of these.
It's so helpful.
Do you mind putting the link to that template package in the chat?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I was also wondering how you think about organizing certain topics that are overlapping. So, like, if there's a paper for a grant that you're doing, which overlaps with like a conference talk or something, like you just duplicate, or I guess, I don't know, how do you organize at that level?
Yeah, when I have things that are kind of fit in multiple buckets, when I add it to the list, I just add it as one time. So let's say it's I'll just come up with an example. Let's say I have to run a rerun analysis for a project that's going to be for a conference presentation, but it's also the same analysis we're going to use for a grant submission. What I would do is whatever is coming up first, I would label it with that. So let's say I'm submitting to ADAA, but I'm also using this for an application that's due after ADAA. I would just mark it on my task sheet as like ADAA, and because I'm extra nerdy in organization, I would color code it as well. But I would put it for whatever is due, the due date for whatever is coming up first, and just have a maybe in the notes section, like remember to copy this over for that other submission that's coming up after that. So I would just keep it on there once, just so that I don't have too many duplicates, but have something as a reminder of like, this is also for that other thing. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Well, thank you again, Dr. LeBerry. This was very, very cool to see. Yeah, love it all. Love the color coding. Love the options you have for everybody. Just really, really, really useful and relevant workshop today. So thank you all for attending as well. I did put the link there for all the early career professional resources. So you just kind of have to scroll down to find that template package, but there's also a bunch of other really cool resources in there. So hopefully you'll have some fun scrolling. And I think we'll go ahead and end there, unless anyone had any last minute questions. But I hope you'll all join us. Our next workshop is going to be in November, and we'll be sharing some more information about that as well. So thank you again, Dominique, so much. It was really good to see you too.
Thank you. It was great to see you too. And excuse me all again for all of this. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, you are so good. Yeah, like I think we've all dealt with something like that in the past few months. So yeah, I hope you
Oh,
feel better. And thank you again. Yeah. Well, everybody take care. Have a good rest of your day.
bye-bye.